The galaxy was quiet, almost too quiet, as if the stars themselves were holding their breath. For centuries, humans had been part of the Galactic Council, the strange alliance of alien worlds that ruled trade, peace, and war. They were always different, curious, emotional, and impossible to predict, but still respected. Then one day they vanished. No messages, no ships, no transmissions, just gone. At first, the Council thought it was a technical failure, then a diplomatic protest. But as weeks turned into months, every human colony, every outpost, every signal was gone. The last transmission from the solar system was a single sentence: "Do not come to Sol." The Council chamber on Veltor Prime was a masterpiece of alien design, massive, golden and cold. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices echoing through the domed hall. "They cannot just disappear," hissed a scaled creature with green eyes. "Earth owes us trade routes and resources." Another, tall and blue-skinned, replied sharply, "Or maybe they're planning something. Humans never sit quietly." The Council speaker, a creature made of light and shadow, raised his arm. "Enough," he said. "They are weak. They rely on emotion. We will send a fleet to Sol and remind them of their place." Admiral Vectar, the oldest warrior in the chamber, rose slowly. His silver armor glimmered, his single eye burning with fear. "Do not send ships," he warned. "You don't understand what they are." Laughter followed. A dozen voices mocked him. "Old myths," one said. "You think humans are gods?" Vectar shook his head. "No, not gods, but they remember everything. They forgive once, never twice." The speaker ignored him and turned to his generals. "Prepare the fleet." Days later, 500 warships left the docks of Veltor Prime. The stars burned bright as the armada jumped toward the solar system. Crews were confident, joking as they watched their blue star charts shimmer. "We'll take their cities and drag them back," one captain laughed. "Humans need to be reminded who rules the stars." But their laughter didn't last. The closer they came to the Sol boundary, the stranger everything became. Their scanners flickered, comms broke down, and space itself seemed to twist. "Commander, we're losing telemetry," a young officer said, her voice trembling. "The stars, they're fading." Outside the ship's window, the stars vanished one by one. Replaced by thick darkness, the fleet slowed, confusion spreading through every vessel. "Where is the sun?" Another captain shouted. "We should see it by now." But there was nothing, no Earth, no moon, no planets, only a dark void that swallowed light. A sudden whisper filled every communication channel at once. "You were warned." The words were human, calm, cold. The commander of the flagship froze. "Identify that source!" he barked, but every radar returned the same reading, nothing. Then the sensors picked up a single object. Far ahead, moving slowly. It wasn't a planet, it wasn't a moon. It was a ship, massive and black, gliding through the void like a shadow. The fleet turned on their lights, scanning the object, and for a brief moment, the reflection revealed human symbols carved into the hull. "It's a Terran ship," whispered the sensor officer. "But it's huge." The commander leaned forward, staring through the glass. "Impossible. Earth didn't have this kind of technology." The ship floated closer, silent and lifeless, until a low hum echoed across space. The fleet's systems shut down one by one. Lights flickered, engines died, weapons froze. Panic erupted. "We're being jammed." A pilot shouted, "We're losing control." Then a single broadcast cut through the static. The voice was male, human, and terrifyingly calm. "This system is under quarantine," it said. "You were told not to come," the commander tried to respond, but his throat was dry. "This is the Galactic Council," he said. "We come in peace." Silence followed. And then the human voice replied, "So did we once." The next second, space lit up in white light for a brief instant. The fleet saw the black Terran ship unfold, its armor splitting open like wings, revealing lines of glowing symbols pulsing with energy. The first blast wasn't sound or fire, it was gravity. Entire ships bent, twisted, and vanished into nothing. One captain screamed as his vessel turned inside out. Another tried to jump away, but found his ship crushed before he could finish the command. Within seconds, the entire armada was gone. erased from space as if it never existed, far away in the council chamber. Alarms began to sound. The speaker stood frozen, staring at the report appearing in red letters. Fleet lost, no survivors. Impossible, he whispered. That's 500 ships. The room filled with noise again. Fear, anger, disbelief. What did they use? How did humans do this? Admiral Vector's voice cut through the chaos. They warned you, he said quietly, and now they've answered across the galaxy. Silence returned, but this time it felt different. The trade stations stopped sending updates, and distant colonies began evacuating without orders. Every race that had mocked humanity now whispered the same question in fear. What if they're coming? The speaker tried to calm the council, promising an investigation, promising retaliation. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. Something had changed. Humanity wasn't gone. They were waiting. In a dark control room on Mars' orbit, a lone human officer stood before a holographic display showing the destroyed fleet. They didn't listen, he said softly. A woman beside him replied, They never do. He nodded. Then they'll learn. Outside the window, hundreds of massive human ships floated in perfect silence, hidden behind cloaking fields. Each bore a single emblem, a burning Earth surrounded by stars. The officer turned toward the glowing console and spoke one final command. Send the message to all sectors, he said. No one enters Sul again, the system confirmed. Transmission sent. The officer took a deep breath and whispered, Maybe now they'll finally understand. The galaxy, once proud and united, began to tremble. Trade routes died. Alliances fractured, and rumors spread like wildfire. The humans had built something new, something far beyond weapons or power. They had built fear, and in the quiet of the stars. The silence before the storm grew heavy, because everyone knew the same truth now. The next move would not be peace, it would be vengeance. The council chamber on Veltor Prime shook with chaos. Fear had replaced pride. Every screen flickered with the same message. Fleet lost, cause unknown. Delegates screamed. Some demanded explanations. Others blamed each other. The Speaker of the Council stood in silence, his glowing body dimming. 500 ships, he whispered. 500 ships do not just vanish. Admiral Vector rose slowly, his voice cold and sharp. You were warned. The words echoed through the chamber like thunder. You were told not to go to Sol. The speaker turned on him, eyes burning. Are you saying you knew? Vector met his gaze. I knew enough. The hall went silent. The old admiral's voice carried through the air. Humans don't fight for glory. They fight when they have no other choice. They offered peace for centuries. They followed your rules. But you pushed them. A younger alien scoffed. They were weak. They depended on our technology. Vector slammed his hand on the table, shaking the floor. Weak? He roared. They destroyed an entire fleet without firing a shot. Does that sound weak to you? The younger alien went pale and fell silent. The speaker turned to his guards. Prepare a second armada, he ordered. 10 times stronger. With advanced jammers and gravity shields. Humanity cannot stand against the combined power of the galaxy. Vector stepped forward, his armor creaking. You don't understand what you're doing, he said quietly. If you strike again, there will be no galaxy left to rule. The speaker ignored him. You will lead this armada, Admiral. Vector's eyes widened. You want me to die with them? No, the speaker replied coldly. You will bring us victory. Hours later, deep in the military docks of Veltor Prime, the Second Fleet was assembling. 10,000 ships lined the black sky. Massive and armed with every weapon known to the Council, Vector walked through the hangar, his old heart heavy. Soldiers saluted him, some with fear, others with pride. A young captain approached him. Sir, they say the First Fleet just disappeared, he said. No wrecks, no debris, nothing. Vector nodded slowly. That's what worries me, son. The captain frowned. You think it's some kind of weapon? No, Vector replied. It's a message. When the fleet entered hyperspace, the stars stretched into lines of light. The journey to Sol would take 3 days. Every hour, reports came in. Strange signals, whispers through the void. Some ships claimed to hear voices. "Commander," one officer reported, "our sensors keep detecting transmissions. They sound human." The commander frowned. "Put it on." The voice that came through was faint, distant and full of static. "Leave," it whispered. "You were warned." The crew froze. Then the sound turned into a child's laughter before vanishing. Vectar listened from his flagship, his expression grim. "They're toying with us," the captain said nervously. "Maybe it's a trick." Vectar shook his head. "No. They're showing us mercy. They're giving us a chance to turn back." The captain looked confused. "Mercy? After what they did?" The old admiral gave a tired smile. "If they wanted us dead, we wouldn't be talking right now." On the third day, the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to see the bright sun of Sul. Instead, there was only darkness, the same thick black void that swallowed the first fleet. The scanners went wild, reporting impossible readings. "We've lost all navigation. Stars gone. Gravity fluctuating." The commander's voice came over the channel. "Stay in formation." But panic spread quickly. Ships drifted, alarms screamed, and then, one by one, lights began to flicker on the horizon. They weren't stars, they were ships, hundreds of them, maybe thousands, rising slowly from the shadows, their hulls black and smooth, pulsing with blue light. "By the gods," someone whispered, "they're human." The flagship's AI began identifying the vessels, but the data made no sense. The registry numbers matched ships that had been destroyed decades ago. "That's impossible," the captain said. "Those ships don't exist anymore." Then a calm voice came through every channel at once. "We warned you!" The human fleet moved without sound. Their ships didn't fire missiles or lasers. Instead, waves of invisible energy spread across the void. The Council ships shook violently, systems shutting down, shields collapsing. "They're disabling us!" a pilot screamed. "We can't move!" On Vectar's ship, the power died completely, plunging the bridge into darkness. He could see faint blue light outside, growing brighter, like a sun rising in reverse. "They're not killing us," he said softly. "They're showing us what's coming." A figure appeared on the main screen, a human dressed in a dark uniform, eyes cold and unreadable. "Admiral Vectar," he said. "You tried to warn them." The old alien froze. "You know me?" The human nodded. "We remember everyone who stood for peace. You are not our enemy." Vectar took a slow breath. "Then what do you want?" The human's expression darkened. "Nothing." He said, "We warned your council to stay away, but they refused. Now they will learn." The image faded, and suddenly the black ship fired a single beam of white light, not at them, but into the void itself. The darkness peeled away like mist, revealing Earth. But it was not the same world they remembered. Giant rings circled the planet, glowing with energy. Entire cities floated above the clouds. Machines the size of continents moved slowly across the oceans. "They rebuilt everything," whispered the captain. "How?" Vectar watched in awe. "They didn't rebuild," he said quietly. "They evolved." The human voice returned, echoing across every channel. "The Council broke peace for the last time. The galaxy has forgotten what mercy means. We will remind you." And then, in one blinding flash, every ship except Vectar's vanished. His sensors showed nothing, no debris, no wrecks, just emptiness. He stared at the screen, his voice shaking. "They spared us again." When he returned to Veltor Prime, the Council was waiting. The speaker stood tall. "Victory?" he asked. Vectar threw his helmet to the floor. "Fools!" he spat. "You sent 10,000 ships to their death. They spared one, me, as your messenger." The speaker's eyes glowed with anger. "You will not speak to me that way." Vectar stepped closer, his voice rising. "They're not coming for peace anymore. They're coming for justice." The chamber went silent. Later that night, Vectar stood alone on his balcony. staring into the stars. "They gave us one last chance," he whispered, "and we wasted it." In the distance, far beyond the glowing horizon, a faint blue light flickered in the void. It wasn't a star, it was the beginning of something far greater and far more terrifying. Humanity was awake now, and the galaxy would soon remember why their warning had come too late. The council chamber was darker than usual. The lights flickered as the alien leaders sat in uneasy silence. Reports from the Second Fleet filled the screens. Static, fragments of voices, and then nothing. The last words transmitted were from Admiral Vector himself. "They spared me," and then the signal went dead. The speaker stood in front of the holographic table, his form trembling with anger. "2 fleets," he said slowly. "2 fleets gone." His voice echoed through the room. "Does anyone understand what this means?" One of the delegates, a tall insectoid being, clicked its mandibles nervously. "It means we are outmatched." Another, a reptilian warlord, hissed, "No, it means we are cursed. Humanity has built something beyond logic." The speaker slammed his clawed hand on the table. "Enough! I refuse to believe that a primitive species from one small planet could destroy us twice." He turned toward his generals. "Prepare the Council Guard. Recall every ship in the outer sectors. Humanity wants war, then they will have it." But as he spoke, the main holographic screen flickered. Static filled the chamber, then an image appeared. Grainy, distorted, yet unmistakably human. A man stood in front of a dark background, half of his face hidden in shadow. His voice was calm. "We warned you not to come." The speaker froze. "Who are you?" The man smiled faintly. "We are the consequence." Then the image vanished, leaving behind a single message, scrolling in red across every council terminal. "Do not send more fleets." The council erupted in panic. "How did they access our system?" shouted one delegate. "Our network is sealed," another protested. "They're inside our system," a third cried. The speaker stared at the screen, his voice trembling. "Find them." But it was already too late. One by one, the lights in the chamber went out. The emergency power hummed weakly, revealing a strange symbol glowing on the walls. It was the emblem of the Terran Defense Command. Burned into the metal, far away on an isolated moon base, a small group of alien scientists watched the chaos unfold through their monitors. One of them, a thin, grey-skinned researcher named Loran, whispered, "They're watching us even here." His colleague Drin adjusted his device nervously. "Maybe they hacked our comms." Loran shook his head. "No, they're not sending messages. They're warning us." Drin frowned. "Why would they warn us? They already destroyed our fleets." Loran stared at the black void outside. "Because they don't want to kill us. They want us to remember." Back on Veltor Prime, Admiral Vector sat in his quarters, silent. The council had dismissed him, calling him a coward and a traitor. But he knew the truth. He had seen Earth, or what Earth had become. He looked at the small metal disc he carried, given to him by the human who had spared him. It glowed faintly, displaying a phrase, "Mercy is not weakness," he whispered to himself. "They could have destroyed us all." He stood, his decision made. "If the council won't listen, I will." That night, Vector gathered a few trusted soldiers and boarded a small cruiser. "We're going back to Sol," one of them said in disbelief. "After what happened?" Vector nodded. "Someone has to speak to them before it's too late." The engines roared to life, and the ship vanished into hyperspace. Behind him, Veltor Prime glittered under its golden towers, unaware that it was living its final days of peace. When the small cruiser dropped out of hyperspace near Sol, they saw it immediately. The void wasn't empty anymore. Gigantic structures floated near the edges of the system, rings of glowing energy like walls made of light. "What is that?" one soldier whispered. Vector stared in awe. "A shield," he said softly. "They've sealed their entire system." The ship's sensors beeped frantically, trying to read the energy field, but the numbers made no sense. Infinite energy, endless feedback. "It's not technology," Vector murmured. "It's something else." Suddenly, a transmission came through. "Unknown vessel, identify yourself." The voice was human, calm but firm. Vector stood straight. "This is Admiral Vector of the Galactic Council. I come alone, seeking peace." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "You were the one spared." "Yes," he said. "I tried to stop them." Another pause. Then the human said quietly, "Approach the gate." The crew exchanged nervous glances. "Sir, if this is a trap, then it's one I deserve," Vector replied. As their ship moved forward, the light around them shifted, forming a tunnel of glowing blue. Inside, time felt strange. Seconds stretched into hours. When they emerged, they were no longer in deep space, but above a shining planet, Earth, rebuilt and reborn. The oceans gleamed like liquid glass, and massive space stations orbited peacefully above the clouds. "It's beautiful," whispered one of the soldiers. Vector nodded. "They've done in a century what we couldn't in 1,000. A human vessel approached them, sleek, black, and silent. It docked smoothly, and 2 humans entered their ship. One of them was the same man from the Council transmission. He looked at Vector with calm eyes. "You kept your word," he said. "You came alone." Vector bowed slightly. "I did. I came to ask for mercy." The human shook his head slowly. "Mercy was offered long ago." "Then why am I still alive?" Vector asked. The human looked at him for a long moment, then replied, "Because we remember those who tried to stop the fire." Vector swallowed hard. "You can still stop this war." The human's expression darkened. "No, Admiral. The war has already ended. It ended the moment your fleets entered Sol. Now, the galaxy will face what it created." He turned to leave, but Vector stepped forward. "What will you do?" The human paused. "We will do nothing," he said. "The galaxy will destroy itself, trying to fight us, and we will only watch." Moments later, Vector's ship was escorted back through the glowing gate, and when they emerged, they saw something horrifying. Dozens of massive Terran ships surrounded Veltor Prime, each one the size of a small moon. Their hulls bore the same burning symbol, Earth's flame surrounded by stars. The Council tried to contact them, but there was no reply. Then, across every frequency, the same calm human voice spoke. "You begged for mercy. But mercy ended when you ignored our warning." Vector fell to his knees, whispering, "It's too late." The skies above Veltor filled with light, not from fire, but from something far worse, a wave of silent energy that erased everything it touched. Buildings turned to dust, cities vanished, and the proud heart of the Galactic Council was no more. From orbit, Vector watched in sorrow, his eyes wet. "They gave us every chance," he said quietly. "And we destroyed ourselves." In the darkness of space, a single message pulsed through every surviving network, written in human code. This was not vengeance, this was remembrance. And for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy fell silent again. Not in peace, but in regret. The galaxy was broken. The once golden chamber of the Galactic Council was now a graveyard of silence. Whole worlds had gone dark, trade routes were gone, and colonies sent desperate messages begging for help that never came. Only a few races remained strong enough to speak, but even they whispered in fear. The name human had become a warning, spoken like a curse, on the ruins of Veltor Prime. Survivors gathered among the ashes, their eyes reflecting the glow of distant burning cities. Admiral Vector stood on a shattered balcony, the wind howling through the empty halls. He had seen the end with his own eyes. "They didn't destroy us out of hate," he murmured. "They destroyed what made us arrogant." Behind him, a young soldier named Aaron spoke softly. "Sir, do you think they'll stop?" Vector looked at the horizon, where the sky was still red. No, they don't need to continue. The galaxy is already dying from its own fear far across the stars. Deep within the Orion cluster, a secret meeting took place. Leaders from surviving worlds gathered in a hidden fortress carved into an asteroid. The alien queen of the Drac species spoke first. "We cannot live in fear forever," she hissed. "We must find a way to strike back," the others murmured in disbelief. "Strike back?" said a pale amphibian leader. "Against what?" "They erased 10,000 ships with a whisper. Then we find out how," the queen said sharply. "There must be something they fear." A scientist named Journo, small and shaking, stood from the shadows. "There might be," he said nervously, "before their warning. We studied something, a black signal hidden deep under Earth's transmissions. It was not human." The room went silent. The queen leaned forward. "Not human." Journo nodded. "Something older, buried in their system long before they joined the council. Maybe that's what gave them their power." "Then we find it," the queen ordered. "And we use it." Their mission was simple but dangerous. A small team of scientists and soldiers would travel to the Sol system and search for the source of the black signal. They knew it was suicide, but desperation had replaced reason. The ship they used was cloaked, silent and fast. "If we fail, no one will even know we existed," Journo said as he sealed his helmet. The pilot smiled weakly. "Then let's make sure we don't fail." When they entered Sul, the silence was immediate. The space around them shimmered like glass. Every sensor was distorted. Every reading made no sense. "The laws of physics are breaking here," whispered one of the engineers. Journo stared at the readings. "We're inside something. Not just a system, this is a living barrier." Then their scanners caught something massive on the edge of the solar ring. "That's it," he said. "The black signal." They approached slowly, the object growing larger. It wasn't a ship or a planet. It was a colossal sphere made of light and shadow, shifting constantly. The air inside their ship felt heavy, hearts pounding. "It's calling to us," someone said. Journo leaned closer to the screen. "It's not human, it's something they found." Before anyone could respond, a voice spoke through the comms. "Unauthorized entry detected." The crew froze. "It's them," the pilot whispered. A human vessel appeared from the void, its hull black as midnight. "Identify yourselves," the voice commanded. "This is a scientific mission," Journo said quickly. "We come in peace." The human voice was calm but cold. "You've entered forbidden space. Please," Journo begged. "We only seek to understand, not to fight." Silence followed. And then the voice replied, "Understanding has a price." The human ship locked a beam onto them, pulling their vessel toward the glowing sphere. The closer they got, the stronger the voices became, whispers of fear, pain, and sorrow filling their minds. Journo screamed, "It's alive!" The pilot shouted, "Break free!" But the ship wouldn't respond. The energy pulled them closer until everything outside turned white. Then, silence. When Journo opened his eyes, he was no longer on the ship. He stood in a vast field under a golden sky. A woman stood in front of him, human, wearing a long white uniform. "Where am I?" he asked. The woman smiled softly. "Inside the memory of humanity." He looked around. "This isn't real," she nodded. "No, but it's what remains of what was real." Journo's voice shook. "What is the black signal?" The woman's eyes glowed faintly. "It's a piece of something older than your council, older than your stars. Humans found it when they reached the edge of the galaxy. It changed them. It showed them what the universe truly is, a weapon." Journo asked. She shook her head. "No, a truth. When your kind was never meant to know." Before he could ask more, the world around him shifted. The golden sky turned dark, and he saw flashes of Earth burning, humans screaming, alien fleets falling from the sky. "They didn't want war," the woman said, her voice breaking. But the galaxy kept pushing, kept taking, kept calling them weak. The black signal awakened something that can't forgive anymore. "Then why show me this?" Journo cried. The woman looked at him sadly. "Because you asked to understand, and now you do." The next moment, Journo was back in his ship, alarms blaring, his crew dead. The pilot's eyes were wide open, frozen in terror. The screen showed one final transmission. Return to your world. Tell them humanity is not their enemy. Tell them the universe itself chose them. He sat trembling, realizing what it meant. They didn't create their power, he whispered. They became its keeper. When his damaged ship finally drifted back to the hidden asteroid base, Giorno told the Council what he had seen. But they didn't believe him. They called him mad, claiming the humans had manipulated his mind still. Giorno's final words echoed through the hall. They didn't just evolve. They became the guardians of something the galaxy should have left alone. And far away, near the ruins of Veltor, a small spark appeared in the blackness of space. The light grew brighter until it formed the shape of a burning emblem, a human symbol pulsing like a heartbeat. As it spread across the stars, every surviving race saw it and knew the same truth. Humanity had stopped being a threat. They had become something far worse, a reminder that mercy has limits, and the warning had truly come too late. The last stars of the old council flickered weakly in the void. The galaxy was silent, not from peace, but from fear. Across a ruined trade corridor, small ships drifted between dying stations. Scavengers picking what was left, rumors spread like a virus. Humans had not just defeated the council. They had become something beyond understanding, in the shadows of a forgotten moon. The remnants of the surviving races gathered, desperate and afraid. Admiral Vector stood before a small group of leaders, his face pale and tired. "You can't fight them," he said quietly. "Every time you try, they become something stronger," the Drax Queen hissed in anger. "We cannot live under their shadow forever." Vector turned his cold eyes on her. "You already do." The room fell silent. "They are not watching us to conquer," he continued. "They are watching to judge." A young alien commander slammed his hand on the table. "We can't just wait for them to decide when to end us." Vector leaned forward, his voice low. "Then what will you do?" "Attack Earth." The last fleet that tried never returned, not even wreckage. The commander looked away. Trembling, Vector sighed. "I have seen their world. I have spoken to their leaders. They do not think like us anymore." At that moment, a transmission came through the base's main console. Everyone turned as a voice echoed through the room, calm and human. "To the survivors of the old council," it said, "this is your final warning. Do not rebuild your weapons. Do not gather your fleets. The age of conquest is over." The screen flickered, showing a man in a dark Terran uniform, his eyes cold but not cruel. "You had your chance," he said. "Now the galaxy belongs to those who seek peace, not power." Then the image vanished, leaving silence and fear behind. "Peace?" the Drax Queen snarled. "They destroy worlds and call it peace." "They destroy what threatens peace," Vector corrected softly. "There is a difference." But even he couldn't shake the unease that grew inside him. If humanity truly had become a godlike force, what would stop them from deciding who deserved to live next? Far across the stars, deep within the ruins of an old Terran outpost, a group of scavengers stumbled upon something strange, a black cube pulsing with light. One of them picked it up. "What is it?" another asked. "Looks human," the first said. "But alive?" As soon as they touched it, the cube opened, projecting a holographic image of a planet none of them had seen before. The coordinates were clear. "We could sell this," the scavenger said, smiling. "Whoever wants to fight the humans would pay anything for this." They didn't know that their transmission was instantly detected. On a Terran command station orbiting Jupiter, alarms blared. "Unauthorized signal detected," said an officer. "It's spreading fast." The commander, a woman with a sharp gaze, frowned. "Track it, but don't intercept yet." "Why not?" the officer asked. "Because," she said calmly, "sometimes it's better to let fear do our work for us." Within hours, the scavengers' find had reached what was left of the galactic resistance. Hundreds of old warlords and surviving admirals gathered, desperate for any chance to challenge Earth. They called the object the Key, believing it could unlock the humans' hidden power. "If they use this to gain control," said one leader, "then we can use it to end them." When the rebellion began, It spread like fire. Dozens of fleets joined, fueled by hate, fear, and revenge. They moved toward the coordinates shown by the cube. Confident that humanity had grown complacent, "This time," said the Drax Queen, "we strike first." But what none of them knew was that the coordinates did not lead to a planet. It led to a trap. As their fleets entered the system, they saw what looked like a dead star, dark and silent. "There's nothing here," said one captain. "Maybe it's hidden," another replied. Then the lights of their ships flickered, and a voice echoed across every communication line. "You were warned." The stars around them shifted, revealing hundreds of Terran warships emerging from the void, each one massive and glowing with blue fire. Panic spread instantly. "It's an ambush! Retreat! Form shields!" But it was already too late. The humans didn't fire. Instead, they activated something far more terrifying, gravity itself. The entire system twisted, light bending around the massive Terran flagship. "They're collapsing the field!" Someone screamed. One by one, the rebel ships were crushed into fragments, sucked into the forming singularity inside the flagship. Commander Alina watched the chaos from her control deck. "How many fleets?" she asked. "All of them," replied her officer. "They took the bait," Alina nodded. "Send the message." Her voice filled every channel once again. Calm and final. "Humanity warned you. You mistook mercy for weakness. And now mercy is over. When it was over, nothing remained. Not the fleets, not the warlords, not even the Black Cube. Only dust drifting through space, back on Veltor's ruins." Admiral Vector received the report. He closed his eyes, whispering, "They did it again." The soldier beside him asked, "Do you think they'll ever stop?" Vector looked up at the stars. "They don't need to. The galaxy will never dare to move against them again." Far above, in orbit of the Terran homeworld, Earth's Defense Council met in silence. "Another rebellion crushed," said one officer. "They never learn." Commander Alina stood by the window, watching the blue planet below. "They will," she said softly. "Eventually they'll stop fighting us, or there will be no one left to fight." Her superior turned to her. "And if one day we become what they feared?" Alina looked at him, her voice calm and distant. "Then maybe someone will rise to warn us too." The stars outside glowed quietly. The galaxy, once full of life, now subdued and still. Humanity had given its warning, and it had been ignored again. But now, there were no fleets left to defy them, no voices to argue, no powers to challenge. Only a whisper carried across the endless dark. "We tried peace, and this time, the galaxy finally believed it. The galaxy had fallen quiet. The wars were over. The fleets were gone. Only scattered colonies remained, whispering stories about the humans, stories no one wanted to believe. Some called them gods. Others said they were ghosts, invisible watchers keeping order through fear. But on one cold planet at the edge of the Orion Belt, a strange signal began to pulse, slow and steady. It wasn't human, and it wasn't alien. It was something else, something older, in the control tower of a mining colony. A young operator named Sarah frowned at the strange readings. "Commander," she said, "you need to see this." The old commander, Yorn, walked in, rubbing his tired eyes. "If it's another solar flare, I swear." He stopped when he saw the screen. The signal was repeating a single phrase in old Terran code. "Humanity," Jorn whispered. But that language was banned centuries ago. The signal grew stronger, echoing through every system on the planet. "Do you think it's them?" Sarah asked. "If it is," Jorn said quietly, "we're already dead." The colony sent a distress call, but no one answered. Hours later, the sky changed. A light appeared in orbit, small at first, then larger, a black shape blocking the stars. "It's a ship," Sarah said, voice shaking. "A human ship." The entire base fell silent. The ship didn't fire, didn't move, it simply hovered. Then a voice came through every speaker, calm and deep. "We are not your enemy." The words sent chills through the crowd. Yorn stepped forward, speaking into the comms. "Identify yourself," he demanded. The voice replied, "This is the Terran Aegis. We come to speak." "About what?" Yorn asked. "About the truth." Moments later, a small transport landed near the base. The airlock opened, and a single human stepped out. He was tall, his armor smooth and dark, his face calm and unreadable. "I am Captain Ryan," he said. "I bring a message from Earth." The crowd gathered around, watching with fear and awe. "Earth," Sarah whispered. "It's real." The captain nodded. "More real than you can imagine." Inside the command room, Rion sat across from Yorn. "You've heard stories about us," he said. "But most are lies," Yorn frowned. "You destroyed the galaxy." "No," Ryan said softly. "We stopped it from destroying itself." He looked out the window, his expression distant. "Your council was built on greed, fear and power. Every empire wanted to rule. Every world wanted to conquer. We tried peace, we tried reason, but you kept pushing. So we ended the wars, before they ended everything." Yorn clenched his fists. "You erased billions." "We erased war," Rion replied quietly. "And now we're here because something else has awakened." Sarah looked at him in confusion. "Something else." He nodded. "The signal you found, it's not ours. It's what came before us." The room grew cold. "Before humanity?" Yorn asked. "Before everything," Ryan said. "It's what gave us the power to defend. But now it wants to return." The lights flickered, and a low hum filled the air. "It's responding to your presence," Sarah said, watching the readings spike. "Then it's already too late," Ryan said grimly. Outside, the ground began to shake. A crack split the earth open, revealing a massive black structure buried beneath the surface. "That's impossible," Yorn gasped. "Our sensors never detected that." "It's not made of matter, you understand," Ryan said. "It was hidden long before your world was born." Suddenly, the black structure began to glow, sending waves of energy into the sky. Every machine in the colony shut down, and strange whispers filled the air. Voices speaking in hundreds of languages at once. "What is it saying?" Sarah asked. "It's calling to them," Rian answered. "To who?" Yorn demanded. "To the ones who came before us." A bright light erupted from the crack, forming a sphere that rose into the air. Inside it, shadowy figures moved like living smoke. "They're not physical," Ryan said. "They feed on thought, memory, emotion. They were sealed away when humans first touched the stars. But the galaxy's wars woke them." Jorn's voice trembled. "Can you stop it?" Rian's eyes hardened. "We can, but not without a cost." He activated a device on his wrist, and instantly, beams of blue light shot down from the orbiting ship. Surrounding the sphere, the ground shook violently. "You're going to destroy the planet!" Yorn shouted. Rian shook his head. "I'm going to seal it again!" The sphere screamed, a sound like thunder and crying mixed together. Sarah covered her ears. "Captain, it's breaking through." "Then we die trying," he said calmly. The light intensified, the sphere cracked, and the shadows within screamed as they were pulled back into the rift. "Containment at 80%, Rian's ship reported. 90, 95. Then silence. The ground stopped shaking, the light vanished, the sky cleared. Sarah opened her eyes slowly. "Is it over?" Ryan nodded, his armor cracked and smoking. "For now." Yorn stepped forward. "What happens next?" Ryan looked at him with tired eyes. "Now humanity will return," Yorn frowned. "Return? You mean?" Ryan stood. "The Aegis fleet will spread across the stars again, not to rule, but to protect, because what you saw today will happen again. And when it does, you'll need us." He turned to leave. But Sarah called out, "Why help us after everything?" He paused, glancing back. "Because we remember who we were before the wars, before the fear, before the galaxy called us monsters." His voice softened. "We were builders, dreamers, explorers. That part of us still exists." Somewhere behind the fire, as his ship rose into the sky, the colony watched in silence. The black scar on the planet still glowed faintly, a reminder of what had been buried and what might one day rise again. Yorn turned to Sarah. "Do you believe him?" She looked at the sky where the stars shimmered brighter than ever before. "I don't know," she said quietly, "but if the humans are the only ones who can stop that thing, then maybe we were wrong to fear them. Far above, Captain Ryan watched the stars stretch before him as his ship jumped into hyperspace. "Status?" his officer asked. "Containment stable," Ryan replied. "And the signal?" The officer hesitated, still repeating. "Sir," Ryan's eyes narrowed. "Let it. Let the galaxy hear it." The voice echoed once more through the darkness of space, clear and calm. Humanity tried peace. Humanity gave warning. Humanity remembers. And somewhere, beyond the edge of known stars, something ancient stirred again. Listening, waiting, and the humans, for all their power, knew the truth. They had won the war, but the real battle was still coming.